So let's do a little debrief. So you guys, you've listened to the recording a couple times,
Yes.
and what have you learned?
Wow. What have I learned? Where do I start? Well, your formula for happiness has been really resonating with me, because every time we've had some conflicted relationship issues amongst not us but other people in the past 2 weeks. We've had some challenges, some learning experiences, I like to call them.
Mm-hmm.
And just breaking whatever issue comes up into the fact that people draw conclusions and have expectations is brilliant. It completely has taken away the part where we would absorb that personally, and we just realized that they drew conclusions, they had expectations. That's their misery, not our misery. So I've been applying.
How fun. Well, and noticing your own conclusions and expectations about them and all that.
Yes.
Exactly. It's also that. And then it's just the two of them together has just been, it's very, as soon as we get into a spot where we're like, it's like, okay, well, why?
Why?
Okay. Yeah. Got that notice. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of relationships, Tamara just came bursting into the living room and said, the squirrel ate right out of my hand. So she's very excited here in the background, and it's been a long-term nurturing relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. So you've noticed that you want to know how heart virtues sort of work in relationships. And so it's very simple, really. If there's conclusions and expectations lead to misery, and curiosity and courage leads to happiness. Now, you guys know your heart virtues. Have you noticed, Chris, that when you're really feeling great about Daphne, that your heart virtues are being fulfilled by something she's doing or saying?
Yes, in some way or another, in some connection.
And when you're frustrated or disgruntled, it's because you're imagining that in some respect she's not honoring your virtues or uplifting them or fulfilling them.
In some way, yes.
In some way. And Daphne, have you noticed the same thing? That you...
I have. My virtues are...
Her more so, because they're...
my virtues are very
more
connected.
Intimate.
Yes, exactly. They're more intimate, so they're very, very married with relationships, I find.
Particularly this type of a relationship.
This type especially. So.
Right.
I notice it a lot more with colleagues and things.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And you don't have to take them through the process of identifying their heart virtues to know what virtues are meaningful to them. For example, excuse me, let me adjust here a little bit. For example, if you're having a conversation with somebody and they're constantly using, I'm sure you're familiar with visual, auditory, and kinesthetic language.
Yes.
Somebody says, "Oh, I see what you mean. That's visual language." Somebody says, "Wow, I can really feel what you're talking about. That's kinesthetic." And then auditory is like, "Wow, that sounds incredible." So you learn to recognize that. Well, you can learn when you really start getting, clarity about the virtues. You can just pick out, oh, wow, you must be committed to inspiration and empowerment. Or, wow, you must be committed to reliability and responsibility. Or, wow, sounds like you're really committed to being respected and being treated with fairness. And you just pull them out and people say, oh, yeah. And it's literally a whole other context to just have a conversation centered around what's meaningful. And what's always going to be the most meaningful, because people are willing to die for them, are virtues. Mm-hmm. There's nothing more meaningful than what we're willing to die for. You talk to a mother who's protecting her child. There's nothing more meaningful than that commitment to innocence and that connection and all that. So it's really literally, and I hope you guys have been playing with this more than doing the homework, is just in every phone call, in every conversation, even practicing with telemarketers who call you and you don't have time for them. And saying things like, I had a great conversation with a guy who's trying to sell me, and I said, let me ask you a question. What do you really want in life? And ordinarily our conversation is off-putting, right? We get off the phone with you and click, but if you're in that space where you're learning and you really want to make heart virtues a culture, it's asking people, what do you really want in life? And they'll say, really? And well, I want to sell you a whole bunch of newspapers. Oh, really? Well, what experience would that give you that you don't get to have if you don't sell me newspapers? So you're constantly using these little tools that we've been talking about in every conversation with with the lady that's packing your groceries in the shopping cart, you know, with someone that you meet in the parking lot. It doesn't matter. And that's a whole other, that's where the only way really that you get to be a master of heart virtues. It's like what we do on the phone, you can learn this as a tool, and then you can go use it on people, but the fact is you're going to be dealing with core values unless you experience the incredible, like, goosebumps connection with humanity of using those virtues in every conversation. That make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it really is a shift into a new culture, and it's a refreshing shift. You know, if you guys know Simon Sinek and watched his videos, he's constantly, we just watched one about him. It's a 12-minute video, and it's about happiness. You can type Simon Sinek, all about cell phones. He says, I'm going to talk about cell phones for 5 minutes, and then he goes on for 15 minutes about, you know, how we just are disconnected by carrying around our cell phones all day, and it's causing depression and causing this crazy inability to even associate, right? So, what he's famous for is his golden circle, the why.
Yeah.
At the very core.
Yeah.
If it's true that a company is successful because it knows its why, and then it figures out its how, and then its what is on the outside, well, how much more true is that for a person to know what their why is because they met Chris and had a 15-minute conversation with him?
Mm-hmm.
Make sense? So
Yes.
cool.
Yep.
So so what else have you learned since our first session?
Well, I've learned that applying the currencies in our own life, the concept of currencies, and managing that experience, and that's been big, especially in the past 3-4 days for us. We've had, like Chris said, many different things going on that it's been hard to focus. And so I'd find myself jumping ahead to what I always need to do next and not just doing what I was doing in the moment. So today especially, I've been trying to stay connected to my breath and the experience and just enjoying what the present moment is, because that's my actual experience. And I often, I'm a planner, I'm always thinking with the kids, like the next 3 steps I need to do that I sometimes don't act in the actual step I'm in. Yeah. So that's
right.
That's
and
been
notice,
a big
awesome. And notice when you said that, what are the next things I need to do?
Yes.
Right? So that's a need has a little bit of tension around it. If you start going, well, you know, what are the next 3 things that you do with your kids that give you goosebumps?
Yes. True.
Right? It's like, because, you know, whatever those 3 things you need to do are, there's probably a little bit of goosebumps in each one. It's just a reframe. Because you want to have beautiful, amazing, healthy adult kids, which is why you need to do all those things. But let's get clear about it. There are some kids, some people, they have a kid and they throw them in the dumpster. They don't need to do anything with their kids. So what you're saying is really a personal commitment. It's an alignment with your virtues. It's you know, getting clear about how this little being in your arms right now is absolutely in alignment with your goal for life and experiences. Right? I mean, look, if you said to me, hey, Greg, you know, we're gonna give you this, you know, they do this exercise in school where they give you a pet egg. Have you heard of it?
No.
So they were doing it in the U.S. It was an experiment in high schools, and they would basically, you know, because kids were getting pregnant so early, or thinking, kids were saying, I want to get pregnant at like age 15. They said, oh, you want to get pregnant? Great. Here's your pet egg. And you had to keep the pet egg with you everywhere you went in school. And it was this little toy, and if it made noise, you had to rock it. And, you know, and then you needed to run it through water or something every 20 minutes. You had to do like all these things that were like, you know, like if you had a baby, right? And the kids and they were like, this is a hassle, right? And it's like, well, imagine what it's like to have kids. So having the pet egg is not the reason you're holding that child. There's an experience you get to have that has nothing to do with saying I'm a mom.
No.
Right? There's an experience that you get to have that has nothing to do with saying I'm a dad. It's an experience of empowerment and nurturing and all that. True?
Absolutely. Speaking of which, we have a very smelly experience. Are you having goosebumps about changing a poopy diaper?
I have a cold, so I can't smell it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Daddy.
Chris's turn.
Yeah. But you're right. I need to reframe that. I'm focusing too much on the, the need and less the want. Yeah, that's a very important reframe.
So a really fun exercise to play with is just eliminating the three words: have to, need to, and should.
Oh yeah. Should we have done? Need to, I need to work on. See, I will work on.
So just have a fast. You and Chris are going to say, okay, you say need to, but what is the truth? Because, there's that famous saying, there's only a few things you need to do, right? Go to the bathroom, drink water every day, pay your taxes, whatever. So, so what else? What else have you learned? And
what else was my biggest learn? Well, I learned a lot about my virtues. So we didn't have time to go through the whole list yet, obviously. We didn't get there, but we will. And we looked up our virtues, the meaning, the definition, and started realizing that one single virtue itself can mean very different things for different people. Like, it's kind of it's a core, but if you add a little adjective or perspective to it, in looking up the definitions, them themselves had so many different meanings.
Right. That's why we use 2 or 3, because it tends to hone it down.
Exactly. So not only understanding the definition, but the different contexts in which it might resonate with them. My virtue of connection is very different from my sister's. Like, we did heart virtues with her, and I mean, you would think it's a different virtue altogether, but it's the same virtue. Her virtue of connection, she associated to just keeping in contact, like networking with people, and that importance in her life. And my definition of connection is that emotional, spiritual connection to another being, another soul, and that's uplifting and gives me goosebumps. And when it's not there, that relationship wavers for me. It doesn't hold much meaning. So
cool. So tell me a little bit, Daphne, where do you want to be able to use heart virtues professionally?
Professionally, I feel that I want to use it in an authentic network. When you were discussing authentic versus setup network, I'm not drawn to the setup network needing to sell people on this because they need it. I want to draw people to me, having that simple conversation and use it with our mastermind, our community of immediate friends, family, and extensions of those branches. That's how I see it in the next couple years in my life. Cool. I know Chris sees it differently. Chris sees more of a setup network and a movement happening. I think he sees it on the bigger screen. But I guess because I'm committed to emotional connection, I like small groups, and I do much better in 2-on-1, 3-on-1 than I do in bigger groups, and that's just because I can feel that energy and that connection.
Cool. And occasionally I have people that say, I want to learn heart virtues so I can use them with my employees. And I say, well, say more about that. And they'll say, well, I just want to be able to identify whenever I have someone that's in the company and they're going through just difficult times. Mm-hmm. I just want to be able to use it to enhance the culture in the business. I say, so you're not looking at making money with heart virtues? They said, no, not directly, indirectly. But you and Chris have invested a substantial amount in heart virtues and learning how to do it. Do you see yourself using them to make money?
Yes.
Great. So if that's going to happen, there's going to be an exchange of value, mm-hmm. right? So let's just role play a little bit and see how that could sort of play out. So I'm like, wow, you're pretty cool, Daphne. I mean, you seem to really, you've nailed a couple things about me that most people, this is an uncommon conversation. What do you do?
What's my response? Oh boy.
I'm role playing with you. I'm a potential client.
You're a potential client. Well, we can dive a lot deeper into this type of conversation. There's a lot more to gain if you're willing to just sit with me and hear what I have to say.
Okay. Well, how does that work?
Well, you and I could set up a meeting time, preferably in person, because it's a nice topic to be able to exchange and enjoy each other's company during the process. And it would maybe take about 2 hours of your time. And we would go through a few processes where you would just get to know who you are a lot better, and I would guide you through that.
Really? Do you charge for this?
Yes, there is a fee, and it would be X number of dollars. I have no idea.
So let's play with that for just a second. If you were to do, say, a private session with somebody, and you're going to identify their heart virtue, what number are you having in mind that you would charge for that?
The number that comes to mind is $99.
Okay, so you would charge $99. Is 99 better or is 200 better?
200 is better.
Is 200 better or is 400 better?
400's better.
Is 400 better or is 800 better?
800's better. So
Is 800 better for 2 hours, for 2 hours of time?
Yeah.
Is 800 better or is $1,600 better?
$1,600 is better. I'm going with the I'm sorry.
Right. So now
better to you that feels better.
Oh, that feels better. I'm like, just the numbers.
She's just
I mean, here's
sounds better.
right. Here's what you got to do. You got to say, you're about to say to me, I'm going to say, well, so what do you charge for this? And you're going to say $1,600 for 2 hours. Couldn't you do that?
No, I can't do that.
I don't do it with you. You know, and I've been doing this for years, so I know I can deliver a ton of value. But I don't, in fact, I don't know if you guys have heard, but, you know, I used to do Heart Virtues originally for like, I would do a 2-hour session for like $70. And then I started charging $140 within 3 months because my coach said, I'm not going to work with you to do this for $70. I know you got other forms of income, but that's not sustainable. So then I was charging $140, then it immediately jumped up to $250. So within 8 months, I went to $250 for a 2-hour session. And I held it there for years. And then I raised it to $400 after 2 or 3 years. Then I raised it again to $500. And then I had friends that were referring celebrities to me. And so they said, you know, this is not enough. They want to work with people that are at the top of their game. And you need to be charging at least $800 to $1,000 for a session. So I raised my rate to like $800. And what I found was I wasn't having as much fun. The experience wasn't as much fun for me as working with people that were paying $400. Now, when I was working with people that were paying $250, they were financially stressed, and they wanted me to help them make money. I don't like working with people to help them, like they can go to the Millionaire Mind if they want to deal with financial stress.
Right.
Right. So what I did was I basically, when I raised it to $800 an hour, or for a session, I was dealing with these trust babies or rich celebrities that wanted to come in and complain and tell me what they were doing and have me give them approval for what they were already doing, and then go out a week later and not do anything that I suggested, and then come back and have another therapy session. And I said, this sucks for me. So I lowered my rate to $400 an hour, and I stopped working with, because I priced myself out of that range. Now I'm working with sincere people that have enough money to do a session, and they're a lot of fun. The experience was fun for me because they're sincere. They're paying a little too much. It's all, you know, a little stretch for what they could afford. So I was like, well, we're entering a new reality. So I'm not committed to seeing that you stay in the old reality as we go through our sessions. You're going to enter a new reality, and it's great that you have a little edge on that charge. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, yes.
So you mentioned $99, which is better, 99 or 200, and now feel it, because this is going to be a place where you have to feel a little bit of like edge, like it's going to take a little courage. Can't just be easy, or you'll be bored with your own sessions. But it can't be so pie in the sky that nobody's going to take you up on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you have to feel confident that you're going to deliver that much value.
Right.
In a 1 or 2 hour session. And I usually recommend 90 minutes minimum. But here I am talking to you. We just had our conversation. I'm a potential client, right? And I say, so how much do you charge for this? And you're gonna come up with a number. Is 99 better or is 200 better?
Right now, 99 resonates better with me.
Okay. Is 99 better or is 50 better?
99's better.
99 better or 125?
Nope, still 99.
Okay. 99 or 110?
Where I feel. Still 99.
Cool. So if I were you, I would encourage you to just make it 100.
100.
Because the $99 thing is kind of like,
That's
it's like the dollar store, right? You know, it's got a psychological component to it, but you don't want to be handing people $1 bills.
107. 107's a good number.
7's are good.
Okay.
A little science behind that.
Okay, cool.
Apparently.
Whatever it is, you got to own it. Now, Chris, what about you?
I'm going to put you more on the screen here.
My price?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I feel like we would be working together, so it would make sense to be the same. But I was leaning more towards like 147.
Okay.
And I'm not. What makes me uncomfortable with that is starting at that. That's where I want to be, but I'm uncomfortable starting there.
Cool. Good to know. So just keep this in mind, right? And I had a little conversation. So let's swing things around so you can see what kind of conversation is possible. Pretend you're potential clients. And I'm a heart virtue guy that you meet, and you've had this conversation with me, and I go, wow, you must be really committed to connection, and and you're going, wow, that's pretty cool. So what do you do? And you asked me that question.
So what do you do, Greg?
Well, it's funny. I actually love having these kinds of conversations with people, and I'm an author. I wrote a book. It's about the virtues that are most meaningful. So what we've been talking about is virtues, and I help people identify their virtues. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Like where is your life on a scale from 1 to 10? What would you say?
8.
8. And what's the 2 that's missing?
The 2 that's missing would be more intimate time and connection with my family.
Oh, cool. And what is it you really want in life, like through that connection time with your family?
I really want to feel just happy doing the simple things every day. The everyday things with them, the experiences, and not feeling rushed.
Cool. What is it you don't want in life?
I don't want to have my day fully planned from morning till night with things I feel I need to do.
And what would you say is your biggest concern around all this?
My biggest concern around what?
Your biggest concern about all that in life right now?
My biggest concern around all that is that I want to fully live and enjoy my life while I'm young and I have my health and my youth and all my capacities.
Very cool. I'm very committed to seeing that you have lots of free time to spend with your family especially, and that you're not burdened by a busy schedule.
Mm-hmm. So how would I go about doing that?
Well, here's what I would recommend. If you feel like this conversation we've had is fun for you, I do private sessions with people, and I charge $400 per session. That's 2 hours, 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you don't feel at the end of that 2 hours that you haven't gotten at least twice what you paid for it, then I would ask that you don't pay me a penny. And in that session, I'll show you how and what I do over a 2-hour period so that you could immediately see with absolute clarity and confidence how you could have way more free time to spend with your family, a lot more quality time, and how you could like bend time almost to remove all those stresses.
Fascinating.
Would you like to schedule it?
Yes.
So here's what most people do.
Most people are the skeptics, though. I'm totally not a skeptic.
Right, and you may actually say like, well, geez, this is whatever abrupt. Okay, you're not ready. That's all. But by virtue of the fact that we've already been having the conversation for a few minutes and you haven't like looked at your watch and excused yourself because you have things to do, you're already somewhat enrolled. I don't wait for people to pay me money to coach them. So you're going to have a conversation saying something like, wow, you must be committed to reliability and responsibility. This is an everyday conversation, right? And then if you get that inkling, and it's not like every person you talk to, but if you get that feeling in your chest like, this is somebody I could really help, then I start with these questions. And I'm going to tell you, they haven't changed at all. Where's your life on a scale from 1 to 10? What's the 2 that's missing? What is it you really want? What is it you don't want? What's your biggest concern? And then I'm just going to say, I'm committed to seeing that you get what you want and you don't have to deal with what you don't want. And then what did I do after I did that?
Paused.
I paused. I didn't say anything. I just said, I'm committed to this, left it on the table. And you said, how do you do that? And I said, here's my structure, right? So here's what I suggest. Don't ever do unrequested coaching. Don't ever suggest people buy something from you if they aren't already ready to put their card down. My job is to get you to where you want what I'm doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, I got to give you a flavor of it. And I love coaching. Why should I wait to do what I love until you pay me? I'm going to coach you first for 10 minutes, and you're either going to go, wow, or you're going to say, this is weird. And if it's a wow, then great. But it's going to take courage. If you're going to be a coach, a life coach, that's a culture. Your family is going to be life coached everywhere they go. You're going to be asking your kids, oh, really? So you went to school and kids said, what did they say to you? You're a jerk. What is it you really want? Oh, I want kids to treat me with kindness. What is it you don't want? I don't want to be bullied. What is your biggest concern? I just want to fit in and I get along. Okay, well, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much did you get to experience that today? About a 4. What's the 6 that's missing? It's like literally this is a coaching culture, and it's what you want with your kids.
Yeah.
If you have the guts to be the kind of parent that's going to enjoy watching the universe raise your kids. But if you get in your ego about it, and it's going to be all about, I'm going to be the coach that gets you there, and my identity is all wrapped up in who my kids end up being, and whether I'm successful or not is dependent on what's in my bank account, or how much time I have, or this is literally how I bend time. Is instead of saying, all right, there's things I like to do and there's things I don't like to do, like spend time with family and not have to do busy work, is you figure out what experience do you want to have in everything you do, and then you don't worry about time. You just do it that way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So those currencies are real currencies.
Mm-hmm.
They're real currencies. They're like, and this is, if there's anything that people have enjoyed about inviting Greg to come, talk to whatever, it's because I'm just being a coach all the time, everywhere, just being the coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like, and it's weird, they don't even notice it, but it's kind of like, well, you just go over and stand next to Greg and you're going to experience what he does. It's not like you don't have to hire him. And then it's weird, they hire me out of gratitude instead of hiring me out of like the desperation of withholding. That make sense?
Yes.
I still tell the story of when we went for dinner at the Keg in Whistler with Garfield, that whole conversation. I still tell that story, and it's still mind-boggling how that happened and what that conversation looked like, because we had that same conversation the day after without you present. It was a disaster.
Yeah. Well, and keep in mind that Heart Virtues is literally organically grown from the experience I want to have. You will have your own experience. It may very well be that Chris's desire to have this be a very structured business is like, it explodes that way. That wouldn't be something I can do, but it would be something that you guys can do. And if that's what the experience he wants to have, and then Daphne, you'll get to do plenty of what you want to do anyway.
Yeah.
Right? You get to pick from, all right, well, we got these clients and there's 200 of them and I'd like to work with those 5, and and then it's a lock. So that's kind of the world. But the cool thing is, if you don't make that a stepping stone, like first I'll have success and then I'll be able to do coaching. The beauty of this, of being a life coach, is you can do it everywhere, all the time, on every phone call. And if somebody calls you and they're like, hi, this is so-and-so calling you from Google, and I noticed your business isn't listed properly or something, you say, tell me something. Where's your life on a scale from 1 to 10? And they're like, what? You say, well, you just called a life coach, and all I ever do is life coaching. So where's your life on a scale from 1 to 10? Whatever you want to say that's authentic. But just have the courage to say that, and then now you're dealing with humanity. Now you are connecting. Now you're not like putting this guy off and that guy off so you can get home, so you can feed the kids, so you can have a free time to connect. You see the difference between context? If you adopt the context that's authentic for your virtues, everywhere you go, you're going to be a little Gandhi, a little Mother Teresa, a little Martin Luther King. And people are like, wow, who's Daphne? You know, where did she come from? And make sense?
Yes.
And if you look at the emails that went back and forth before we started working together, all I'm doing is screening for, is that what they want? Is that really what they want? And I try to open doors left and right. You know, when you know, your sister came to me and she was like, you know, I want to do Harvard. I want to do with everybody. She had so much passion and her heart was so into it and liveness. Like, even though she wasn't formally going through all the, I wanted to open a door for her because she was going to honor the spirit of it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about writing me checks. It was about, let's, you know, here's someone that really is wanting to bring this goosebumps and rage stuff into a personal experience she's having on a daily basis. And I encourage you to do the same thing. You know, you'll find that Heart Virtues will be a part of what you do, and then the two of you are going to integrate something together. My hat is off to you, by the way, for doing this as a business together. As you know, Tamara and I work together. We travel together. We live together. We do everything. In fact, this weekend we're going to a workshop called it's called A Weekend to Remember, and it's for couples. It's a Christian workshop that's for couples, and it's very biblical. But there's a lot of, almost everybody, that's a lot of, like, maybe a dozen speakers, and they step up to the microphone, and every one of them has been married for at least 25 years. Has got a very firm Christian background, and they have at least 3 or 4 kids. So it's a pretty, you know, you're really learning from these people. And then they called us and they said, hey, you know, would you guys be willing to volunteer, you know, and like, you know, during the breaks and stuff, just stand in the back of the room and help people and answer questions and sell books or do whatever, and we'll waive your fee. And I just turned to Tamara, I said, is that the experience we want to have? And she said, sure. So that's what we're doing.
Cool. Did you end up going to MOI, by the way?
I'm sorry?
Did you end up going to MOI?
No, we did not.
Okay.
And this is really good for you guys to know. At first, I sent, you know, Tamara was having great conversations with them and with Mary. And then I ended up sending Mary, you know, a letter, and I said, you know, I'd love to do this, and we look forward to it, and our schedule is set aside. I have a couple of questions. Number one, and the questions were like just lined up, like we have a balance on our account. We were able to work out something at the Ultimate Relationship Retreat that I think was a win-win, where we processed our own invoices and we got to keep the money and whittled it off of the invoices that they have.
Fair enough.
So because they have a balance with us. They owe us a few $1,000s. So anyway, we ended up, you know, I said to Mary, there's a couple of deal breakers, basically. Number one, I got to process my own invoices. And number two, and I'm fine with whatever percentage you want, because I'm going to keep it all anyway and whittle it off the invoices that you have. And then if you don't want to do that and you want to say we're not willing to deal with those past invoices here, then let's find another 360 win where maybe we go to Tamara and I go to a Tony Robbins seminar, a high-end seminar that whittles away at that. But there's got to be some kind of compensation for it, or we don't really have a working relationship. And, you know, I said that quite delicately, but I sent it off to her, and she said, number one, you know, this is the split, and there's no way we can deduct. And I was just like, okay, thanks. So I was out, and I wasn't saying anything because we still had the slot set aside, and Tamara was negotiating with Mary, and she was going to sell a cruise for $12,000. And the percentages were a little crazy that they want, because it was a 60-40 split, confidentially, and in their favor. And I'm not used to, like, I'll do a 50-50 split. Before peaks, I always did a 20-80 split, where I would keep 80 and whoever was there got 20 to put people in the room. But I recognize it's important to have those people, and if you've got the right profits and all. So answer your question is no, we didn't do MOI. And the thing that made it easy to negotiate that was I was very clear about the experience I wanted to have. I know how frustrating it is to stand up in front of a room full of people to say, I'm committed to seeing you get this, and then they end up paying their money not to me, but I have to fulfill on it. No fun. And I know that. I've done it We did it for some reignites. We offered stuff, and then we fulfilled on what we said we would deliver. They don't know anything about what happened behind the scenes, and
Right.
they shouldn't. And
Yeah.
I'm not. And I have loyalty to the people that are paying me, so I'm not going to
Yeah.
put myself in that position.
No, that's totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
We're poopy number 2. I'll be right back.
very cool.
So Greg, can I have a question for you in relation to that? So
Mhm.
that's a business transaction. So, putting off that energy from that other person's a little easier because it's like, no, I don't want that. When those interactions are more within friends or family, I don't know if I'm getting too off topic, but it's an important question.
Not at all.
How do you manage deflecting that energy or not holding attachment to, I guess, the meaning they give that experience? Like, I know what I want. And I've grown a lot in the past 2 weeks in saying what I want. Like I said, we had a few relationships where we had to be like, okay, we need to start drawing a boundary because we know the experience we want and we don't want this.
Right. So let's role play. You be the person that you're having difficulty with, and I'll be you.
You'll be me? Okay. So,
hey, how you doing?
Okay, it's been so long since we haven't seen you. We don't see you enough.
Really? So what would you say is enough? How often would you want to see us?
Well, I'd like to stop by a few nights a week just to pop in and say hi and, see you guys on the weekends as well.
Wow. And so what experience do you want to have with me that you're not getting to have already?
Well, you're too busy and you don't have enough time to spend with me or really talk much these days. And we used to do that a lot more.
Wow. I really hear in our conversation, you're very committed to, what is it, togetherness, loyalty, connection, friendship. What would you say that is?
Well, I think it's family, and family's important, and we should see each other more. And not doing so, I feel you're being a bit selfish. So I think that you need to prioritize me more.
Wow. So I can see that you're really committed to having more of a sense of unity and togetherness. You mentioned that I'm selfish. So are you struggling with my level of independence and freedom that I have other things that are important to me?
Well, I feel that I also had those important things at one point in my life, and I managed to see family and do, a bit more for the people around me and be more present. So I feel you should be able to too.
Yeah. I really want to honor where you're coming from. And it feels like a little bit of pressure to me because it sounds like you want more from me that I, in my heart, feel I'm wanting to, like you said, you've made sacrifices to be with family, and you've got a different set of priorities maybe than I have, and I'm feeling a little pressure to do that. And have you ever tried changing somebody?
I'm not asking you to change. I just think that you should have a bit more time for me.
Oh, that would be a change for me. Like Chris and I have the kids, and we have 3 or 4 different things that we're working on. We're very passionate about them. And I don't mean to, to put you off, but the fact is that I love what I'm doing. Like, I really have a whole lot of fun. And these new goals and that I have that apparently you feel are taking me away from you are actually things that I really feel good about. So you wouldn't want me to sacrifice those knowing how well I feel, how good I feel about it, would you?
No, but maybe if I'd like to know more about them or be a part of them, or, you can include me more.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, actually, what's happening is Chris and I are trying to put this together for ourselves. And the more people that we add to it, the more complex it gets. And, we're fairly newly married. We have children. We have a lot going on. And we really want to create a foundation together where we really connect and gel. And then we'll be inviting other people, that in from the outside. So for now, it's really, we have a particular policy that we think is very wise. We don't really do business much with external family members. And we're struggling enough with doing that with ourselves and learning all these, these intricacies. And we're loving learning all that. And we're getting along so well doing it. And we don't want to add any, outside influences at this point. But, we'll always be there for family.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. I'm going to pause you there because I think we were on track. Chris is looking at it.
And notice what I'm doing, Daphne, is I'm constantly coming back to the experience. What's the experience you want to have? What's the experience I'm, wow, this is the experience I'm having, and this is the, and if you want me to have a different experience, So, Chris, what did you notice?
I agree.
In the conversation that you guys just had, or compared to what we've done?
No, let's start with this conversation. This parallels our conversation.
What I noticed is just the ability to listen and reframe on the fly without getting emotionally charged. Now, it's one thing because you don't have any emotions pertaining to the situation at all, but I think that is definitely a skill that we both need to work on. I tend to be slightly more skilled at it, I think, at the moment, at times, or at least prior to about a year ago, I would say.
Okay.
But definitely the last year has progressed significantly in that, in being able to
say hi.
Manage that.
Hold on a second. You want to say hi or hit after? Hold on.
Tamara's been looming in the background, but she's about to...
Hi! This is Allie.
This is the newest one.
Oh.
You've only met the first one.
You've only met the first, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Number 3.
Look at the pictures in the background. It's so precious.
Yeah, that's number 2, the big one.
That's number 2. There we go.
I met the first one, stayed at our beach bungalow.
Yes.
You guys came into town. That was awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are doing Heart Virtues. Isn't that the best?
We're loving it.
Yay! Yay! Yes. We're going this weekend to a couples retreat.
Yeah, Greg just told us. Sounds super fun.
Always improving.
Well, yeah, and serving and improving and the whole 9 yards. And it's really, I've been through it before in the past, but it's my first time with Tamara, so I'm really excited about that because it's really, they're funny and it's biblical and they have like these forms and you fill them out and then they have their whole structure around it. So
and we get to go for free because we said we help sell books.
Yeah, they asked.
Sell books and whatever.
So 3 days of fun there. And then we were staying at the Hyatt. It was a $150 and we found like a
Airbnb.
house, then an Airbnb for half the price right next to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
That's great.
Awesome. Well, I love you guys. Thank you so much for doing Heart Virtues. It's so close to our hearts, and we love living in the world where people are in touch with that.
Yes.
And if you guys ever want, we've got 12 sessions, and if you ever want like a booster
with just me
with
or
just Tamara or together, let us know because we'll definitely plan those. It'd probably be something where either of you resonates with, because Tamara really got. She'll notice things on the wall where there's this, where the children are, and there's an over-the-top kind of welcoming. And as you notice, like I'm more clinical. I'm like, oh, where's your life on a scale from 1 to 10? And I'm committed to seeing you have this. So if that resonates with you, she understands. She knows the Heart Virtues inside out and backwards, and all the pieces that you need to learn and all that. So that's
and how Heart Virtues plays out in your marriage. In your relationship, and how important that is to be able to honor each other's Heart Virtues really allows for a foundation of being able to communicate even better.
Right, because we deal with conclusions and expectations and the miseries of those, and we deal with the curiosity and courage of what.
Every time we remember to.
That's right.
Yay.
And then it's pure bliss.
Pure bliss in the Lake Tahoe. You guys can see behind us.
I don't know. Have you seen our home yet?
Yeah, well, if it's the same place, I think it is, right? You haven't moved in the last
You guys saw it when before it was under construction.
You probably saw it. You may have seen it. This is actually our living room now, and it's got like murals that go all the way up the wall.
It was not that painted.
Okay, it was animal. It was different. It was a different.
You haven't seen our new home at all.
No.
No, it was animal themed. Yeah.
So this is through the fireplace.
Right.
There is let me see if I can get.
Oh, there. You
get
show them the lake.
So through the fireplace there is a lake.
Oh my
And
gosh.
this is we live on a lake house now. So this is the lake house that we live at. I don't know. Can you see the lake in the background? Or is it too bright?
Too bright.
Too
I
bright.
think.
Right.
I'll just give you a little color.
Were you not on body water or near body water last time?
No, not really near it. We're down the street from it. But this is our living room, and this is through the backyard. Here's our fountain.
Nice. Okay.
Here's our little thing. We have a swing here, and Tamara loves the hummingbirds and the squirrels. So this is the chair they were sitting. Is that where they were sitting on the swing over there?
Nice.
Very
Anyway,
nice.
so there was a squirrel there, and,
Oh yeah.
and she came right up to her and ate out of her hand. So she's very excited because she's been working on it.
Very cool.
Anyway.
Although I don't think I would feel comfortable with a squirrel touching me, but that's very cool for you.
She says bye.
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 You're tired now, honey. Yes. Sorry. So. Oh. We lost your volume.
Still nothing.
Okay. Well, no, before when I was talking.
It was a little bit crackly before. But
Before? It's better. It's a bit better now.
Oh, cool. Good to know. All right. So we were talking about this conversation with your.
Yes, our role-playing conversation. You're asking Chris what he noticed. Do you want to finish your answer, or were you okay?
Well, I was okay with what I had said in terms of just the notice of the ability to reframe and respond in a constantly positive and managed experience way.
Right.
It's the challenge for us was when they start kind of really attacking you as a person is after the second or third time. It's kind of like life, it can wear you down, and they wear you down. And we started in this fantastic reframing mentality, fantastic, and then it got really nitpicky and grueling, and we're like, oh.
And it was not helped that the fact that it was mostly done through written messages and not through actual conversation.
Right. And you can do the exact same thing through writing, though. You talk about the experience.
Yeah.
Experience you want to, and if they say things like you're being selfish, then I'm just immediately very clear that when somebody says something like you're being selfish, that's not just another sentence. That's name calling.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's going to be name calling, I say, listen, I can see that you're so aggravated that you're actually reverting to name calling, and that's not okay with me. So let's take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, that's it. You just send that email, and if they start barraging you, I once had a client that came in and she said, I've got a stalker, and I need you to help me deal with them. And I was like going, all right, well, what's happening? And they had printed like 20 emails where this person would say something to them, and then they would respond, and then they would say something, and then they'd respond. And I said, you are I don't even need to read those to know you're in a full-fledged relationship with this person. And she said, what are you talking about? I don't want to be in a relationship with them. I said, well, you got emails going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I said, if you're not going to be in a relationship with them, that's zero communication. Like you don't even look at the email. It immediately goes into your spam folder. And you don't even know that it's there. And then it's out of your mind. And that's called managing the experience. But you got to get over it. Like, you got to find out what is it that's more important to you.
What?
No, that's sort of what Daphne ended up doing.
Oh,
she
sorry.
removed herself from the group chat.
I did, Greg. I removed myself from the chat,
because
and
it was getting to the point where it was sort of emotional abuse in terms of
what
they were saying. It sort of felt that way.
Cool.
Yeah. I specifically only wrote 2 small sentences at the end saying, I have zero tolerance for emotional abuse, period. For my health and the health of my children, I'll be removing myself from these chats, period.
There you go.
That's all I said.
Yeah.
But then it was kind of received as you're cutting us off and you're breaking up and this and that. And it was, I don't care. I was done.
And I would withhold things like, saying that it's emotional abuse. You say, this isn't the experience I want to have.
Okay.
So, I say what you did appreciate, but this is not the experience I want to have. Have a good day. And then when you cut them off, you don't need to wait for their response. It's just, they're gone. Now, what's your heart virtue?
I am committed to compassion, connection, and harmony.
Right. So you're going to want to experience all of those things, whether it's while you're getting together, while you're breaking up, while whatever's going on, right? Mm-hmm. So my thing is spiritual integrity. And if you listen to these coaching sessions, you're going to find out, wow, there's a great deal of spiritual integrity in a lot of what Greg's saying. But that doesn't mean it's about compassion, connection, and harmony. So you're going to have your own version of these conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And yet the tools really do work. The number one thing to focus on is what's the experience I'm having. And my favorite tool, if you do find that you're struggling with some of these boundary issues, and keep in mind, you guys remember the 3 skills at Authn Talk, which was the first workshop that you guys came to, right?
Well, the one that Veronica and I went to, yeah.
Yeah. So it's the 3 skills were listening,
yeah,
acknowledging boundaries, asking for what you want. Those are the 3 skills. The listening skill is called mirroring. It is a technique. What I hear you saying is, did I get it right? Is there more? Did I get it all? Then you have the acknowledging boundaries exercise, which is basically you're just like, here's what's going on in my chest. And we had people attack you in the workshop. With, if you were like, if you said, well, I have really bad boundaries with my dad, we would have you, we did the mingling exercise. And people would walk up and say, I'm your dad. And they would say the things that your dad crosses boundaries with. And you'd have to say, time out. Just time out. I'm experiencing name calling. You just said I'm selfish. I'm more than happy to continue this conversation without name calling, but if it continues, I'm going to take a break. So you let them know, right? And then if they do it again, you say, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'll be back in, I'll contact you tomorrow sometime. And if you ever take a break, you got to tell them when you're coming back, unless you don't want to have the relationship anymore. Then you say, I'm taking an indefinite break. I'll contact you when I'm ready. Or you say, you know what, I need to take a break right now. And so I'll get back in touch with you tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. And then if you start up again and they just immediately start the abuse, say, I'm going to take another break. This time, give me a week, and I'll be in touch with you in a week. And the beauty of the acknowledging boundaries exercise is that all abuse is self-abuse. Unless somebody's like got a gun to your head or mugs you in the street, if you're free to turn around and leave, then you really got to ask yourself, why am I still here, right? And then there's the asking for what you want, which is, I'm really frustrated. You start with a frustration, and then you reframe it to, what is my request? What's the request I'm not willing to make, with curiosity and courage? So those 3 skills are the whole essence of the Authn Talk workshop. We just get through those 3 skills is really it. And in order to do that, you got to know your heart virtue, because your heart virtue defines the experience that you want to have, which is going to be why you're listening, why you're acknowledging boundaries, and why you're going to ask for something. Right? Mm-hmm. So what else did you guys notice?
In that conversation, well, I noticed that you were confident in acknowledging your boundaries. I did notice that repeatedly, and it was really the same thing coming back every time. And yeah.
So that clarity and confidence it comes from, and it's actually the trademark of all my sessions. And you'll find out what yours is after you work with about 50 to 100 people. I would recommend that you basically say, you send out a little questionnaire, and if you want, I'll send you a copy of the one I use. And it basically says, what are you getting from working with Chris and Daphne? What experience are they providing that you didn't get to have before you were working with them? So we did this with 500 of my clients when I was, hired my first employee. The first thing we did was we went out and we did a survey. And like across the board, the most common thing was, working with Greg gave me clarity and confidence. So now I don't have to guess. I can just say to people, if you work with me, you're going to have clarity and confidence. But I never would have said that. I wouldn't have known that, because I can't see through their perspective what they're getting from working with me. I had to have a third party ask them, because if they're talking to me on the phone, I have a relationship with them that's all about coaching and this other stuff. You got to get a third person to do it. That makes sense? So,
Yeah.
just for the record, but what you said, Daphne, was I noticed you have a lot of confidence. My personal confidence comes from just knowing, like, I got experience because I'm not wondering anymore, what experience do I want to have?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I've compared it and I've said, wow, if I stay on the phone with this person for 15 more minutes, I'm going to hate myself this afternoon.
Yes.
Like, why do I do that to me? And when I got clear about that, I was going, all right, Greg, I'm going to take you, and I use this, like I'm taking you out of here because I'm going to beat the shit out of you. You're going to beat the shit out of me if I don't get you out of this room right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or off the phone, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
little Greg. Little Greg lives in my chest. He's, when I ask people, point to yourself, they all point here. They don't point here.
Yeah.
The little Greg is going to beat the crap out of me if I sit there and let him be abused. And I'm just going to stand by and say, well, I shouldn't say anything and I should just be polite and I'll just stand here proving that I'm tougher than their, accusations. But meanwhile, little Greg is getting beaten up. While big Greg is toughing it out, little Greg's, and so I'm like, as soon as little Greg says, this is no longer fun for me, I'm like, I may listen to them for a couple sentences. I might just say, hold on a second. I need to take a deep breath here for a second. And I'll just be thinking, all right, little Greg, what do you want to do? And if the answer is like, get in the car and drive away, I've got something so important that I just realized I needed to do. It was weighing on me while we were talking. And I'm going to need to say goodbye right now. And let me get in touch with you tomorrow afternoon. And I get little Greg the hell out of there. And I get in the car and I stop and close my eyes and I breathe and I say, how was that? Was that okay? Feel better? Oh, thank you. Now I'm with me and I don't waste another hour out of being polite to an abuser and then make myself late and then beat myself up for the rest of the day. Which I'm imagining you can relate to.
Oh, yes. It's funny because I was talking to Chris about my scientific feeling, the physiology going on, the fight or flight reaction, just I need to get out of here. I'm not a fighter. I'm not one to add to not at all. It's just never been my nature. So I was like, I need out. And it was exactly that feeling, like this is terrible for me.
Yeah, and I do this. This is how I tell little Greg that I'm going to bat for him. It's not so much for them.
Right.
For me. And I put it up.
Yeah.
And it's almost like this. But it's this. And I say, hey, time out. Just take a time out for a second. I'm committed to seeing we have a really beautiful connection with harmony and compassion with each other always. And I'm experiencing a little tension in this conversation. So I'm going to take a break. And I'll connect with you tomorrow afternoon. And if our conversation continues with compassion and harmony and connection, then I'm more than happy to have a nice long conversation with you. But right now, I'm calling time out. I'm just going to take a break. Thank you. And literally, now here's what happens. If you remember, Chris, actually, you haven't experienced the acknowledging boundaries exercise, have you, Daphne?
I have not.
She is not.
Okay. You may want to do it with her, Chris, or if you're open, Daphne.
Yeah.
Just role playing a little bit. And so there's 3 layers of acknowledging boundaries. The first is you say time out. If we can change the topic, I'm willing to continue. The second is if they're not willing to change the topic, which 99% of the time they're not, you got to go to level 2. And level 2 is I'm going to take a 10-minute break. And you literally leave the room. You go into another room.
But you have to stick to the 10 minutes.
But you have to come back in 10 minutes. And you don't ever say I'm leaving the room for an indefinite amount of time. Because there's 2 types of people. People that have experienced a little too much enmeshment, like their parents were smothering them and all over them and they needed space and freedom, or people that have experienced abandonment. And you're going to find this as you work with people. They're going to be one of the 2 issues. They're either, hey man, don't tell me what to do, don't smother me, don't, whatever, they need their space. And then there's people that are like, they feel abandoned, which is probably the people you were talking to were accusing you of all this abandonment, right? So you'll find if you say to someone that's got abandonment issues, and remember, there's one of 2, they're either abandonment issues, and you say to the person that feels abandoned, I'm going to take a break. Well, when can we, and you don't tell them when, they're going to panic. So I say, I'm going to take a break, and you need to feel when the break is appropriate for you. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. It's got to be, and you'll learn. Little Daphne will tell you. She'll let you know if 10 minutes wasn't enough. And then, you know, on the second round, you say, okay, I'm going to take a 10-minute break, and you leave the room. Now, if they follow you, you stop them and you say, time out. I told you I needed a little space. I'm feeling really burdened right now. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get in my car. I'll drive away, and I will call you tomorrow sometime. So you always got to say when. The cool thing is, if you're dealing with an enmeshment person and you say, hey, time out, I need a break, you know, I'll call you, I'll be back in 10 minutes. They understand enmeshment. They understand being, you know, someone burdening them. So they'll give you I'll say, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, you're good. If they're an abandoned person, you've taken care of them. And if they're a mesh person, they already understand. So level 1 is change the topic. Number 2 is leave the room. Number 3 is leave the house. You get out of the building. You go away. And that means you're going to have at least a 2-hour break. So that's the minimum that Daphne will need to sort of figure out, what do I do and how do I do it? And then what I recommend is you get together with someone, Chris or someone, and you role play. So for me, my coaching sessions, when I do private coaching sessions with people, after we get through the basics, here's your heart virtue. What's your vision for where you want your life to be? And I do visioning exercise and say, you know, because without that, there's no game to play. There's no reason for them to come to my workshop or have coaching unless they have a vision for what's the experience they want to have that they don't get to have. And then from then on, it's just role playing. Mm-hmm. If you want to build a business, great. Who are you going to need to help you build your business? Oh, well, I need to meet a millionaire. Well, what would their name be? Elon Musk. Great. I'm Elon Musk. What do you want to, you know, tell me about it? Hi, I'm Elon Musk. Who are you? And you gotta successfully navigate these conversations. And it's amazing how when all that energy changes and they're no longer afraid and they have that confidence that you were referring to mm-hmm. through role playing.
Yeah.
Then they meet Elon Musk and it's like, hey, Elon, hi, I'm Fred. And if you meet Elon Musk and you're like this, and you're going, oh my God, you're so incredible, you're so great, you know, like Oprah, oh my God, you're so incredible, you know, I can't believe I get to talk to you for fun. The way you get over that so that you can meet them face to face is by role playing. 15 times, you know, have Chris walk in the door when you're least expecting it. Hey, I'm Oprah. And you got to say, oh, hi, Oprah. And you got to navigate that conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. And it's funny because when we hit the challenge, like Chris said, a lot of it was back and forth written. When it started getting ugly and I realized that he was kind of losing his level-headedness, I was like, we need to call Greg. That's the first thing. I was like, because I knew we were both too emotional about it. I'm like, we're losing our we're losing our focus, we're losing our method. I said, we need to call Greg. We need a coaching call.
Cool. So let me play a little game with you, and I'm going to tell you how to play the game first, and then I want you to see how powerful it is. Okay? So I'm going to say some things to you, Daphne, and your response is only going to be, I am committed to compassion, connection, and harmony. Okay? That's your only response.
That's all I say, those only
all
words.
You're going to say.
Okay.
So, hey, Daphne, how are you today?
I am committed to compassion, connection, and harmony.
Well, you know, I'm really glad to hear that because I don't feel like we're spending enough time together. I think, you know, I know you guys are working on some things, but we need to spend a little more time together.
I am committed to compassion, connection, and harmony.
But, you know, I really think you're being selfish. You know, I mean, there's a whole bunch of people here, and this is a community, this is a group, and you know, I'm feeling pretty put off.
I am committed to compassion, connection, and harmony.
So what are you really trying to say? Are you trying to say that, you know, you don't want to spend time with us?
I am committed to compassion, connection, and harmony.
Well, you know, I don't get it. I mean, you know, we've done so much together, and I'm feeling like we were getting closer, and now it's just like we're just getting further apart.
I am committed to compassion, connection, and harmony.
So how's this working for you, Daphne?
Oh my gosh, you're not even the person and you can make my heart like rise a little bit and you're not even like, so funny. It's not funny.
But what's it like for you?
Yeah. You know what? It's grounding to stay connected to what's important to me. It's
right.
Grounding.
And yeah, my promise was, you said, you know, it's hard for Chris and I to stay focused.
Yes.
So I'm listening, and I said, well, let me give her a technique that will immediately, in any conversation, I don't care where you are, I don't care what's being said, when you say, I am committed to compassion, connection, and harmony, it's always in context. Mm-hmm. Because who they're talking to is a woman that incarnated on this planet to experience compassion, connection, and harmony. So when you say that, you give authentic context to every conversation on a spiritual level that transcends money and time and people and, you know, fame and connection and family. It transcends all of that. Does that make sense?
It does.
And I could do the exact same thing. You could say to me, you know, hey, you know, why aren't you calling me? I'm committed to spiritual integrity. So why, but what does that mean? You know, why are you calling me? Well, I'm committed to spiritual integrity. And after you get to where you're like, wow, this, I mean, you probably noticed it kept you focused, kept you centered, it kept you grounded. What's happening when she's arguing with you about what you should be doing is people will draw you into their world and get you to leave your world.
So do you actually physically say those words every answer, like as a rebuttal, or do you actually speak more than that?
What I do, I just wanted her to have the experience. What I do is when I'm feeling frazzled and I've gotten out of my comfort zone, I say it at least once to get me centered. Because when I'm confused and disoriented, I don't want to say anything. I'm just going to say something stupid. I'm going to start doing what they do. I'm going to name call or accuse because I'm feeling threatened, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I got to get me centered before I open my mouth. So what I've learned is when I'm feeling whacked out, I'm committed to spiritual integrity. Now, eventually they may use that against you. Well, you say you're committed to compassion, connection, harmony, and this is, and then I say, you know, that's the most meaningful thing to me. And I'm feeling so out of sorts right now. And I just told you what I'm really committed to experiencing with you, and you're using it against me. So I need to take a break. Otherwise, if they, you know, like what I was doing was actually respecting what you said to a certain degree. And I'm all wrapped up in my own emotional storm that I'm blaming you for, but you're staying centered, right? But I didn't come in after you. If they come in after you, if they don't come in, if it calms them down and you say, all right, I'm committed to compassion, connection, and harmony, and they may be crying and saying, yeah, but I want to connect with you too, and I don't get to connect with you, and say, you know, I really understand that. And then I just go into those questions. What experience do you want to have with me that you don't get to have? And on a scale from 1 to 10, what is your experience like with me? Well, lately a 4. What's the 6 that's missing? Well, I just want to spend, you know, at least an hour a day with you every evening. And you can say, wow, I hear that. You're not committing to it. You say, listen, I really just need to, and so you calm them down, you get them clear, you help them get clear about what they're committed to. And they'll be grateful for that. And then they'll like, see, this is why I want to spend more time with you. And you can say, yeah, but I have children, and I have Chris, and I really have to let you know, I don't have much time, you know, for this type of work. This is what I do professionally. And if you'd like to have a coaching session, you want them to leave you alone, start offering them to join a coaching session where you're the coach and they're the student.
Chris is,
one of the bigger-ish challenges, or not bigger, it's one of the challenges is through this conversation that you're having, you're addressing it as if the person wants to spend time with Daphne and or I. It's more that they're saying that, but they really want to be spending time with the kids, and whether we're there or not is irrelevant to them.
Yeah, but it's the same conversation.
Yeah.
See, you don't have to answer their desire to spend time with your kids. You speak your commitment. That's how you stay in your world. They can say direct, I want to spend more time with your kids. Yeah, I get that. You know, we actually have a pretty busy schedule with them, and I'm committed to experiencing most of their childhood privately with Chris, with us, because we have a particular culture we want to create with the kids. And that's going to be for the next decade or so. That's just going to be our highest priority. You know, and the beauty of this is every time they challenge you and invite you to go step on their island and leave your world, it's a great exercise in how do I say this is what I'm committed to. And if it does go to that place where, you know, they're just crossing over a boundary over and over again, you either use time out, or I'll say, you know, I'm glad that I could help you in this conversation. I love doing this coaching work pro bono occasionally. And, you know, and I can see you're really distressed with this. if you'd like, we can set up time for a session and help you really get clarity about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're feeling, I'll be honest, when people have crossed the boundary like that for me, I don't usually do that. I'm an introvert, so I get alone. I'm like, I'll end a relationship way faster than I'll try to, yeah, get into any kind of, especially if the experience has already been poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of these stick to it to the bitter end people. So.
I feel you on that one. That's been a big growth for me in the past years, is getting to that version of introvert. I too am an introvert, but I would stick to it because of my compassion. I didn't understand my compassion quite properly. These experiences have helped me understand what compassion really is. For me. Yeah. Right. It has, I think I used to get a bit, I would allow people to kind of take advantage of me because I was compassionate, but I wasn't really serving them or myself.
Right. So I have a little homework assignment for you. Look up compassion, look up the word, wiki it, find out the root,
mm-hmm.
the source, see what the actual definition is, and see if you can find several definitions. And I recommend you do that with all 3 of your heart virtues, and you too, Chris. Because when I started, I was looking for, is it really spiritual integrity? And I looked up the word integrity, and I was like, wow, integrity comes from the same root word, which is integration, integra, and it means when thoughts, words, actions, when a person's in integrity, their thoughts, words, actions are all in alignment. And I was going, that's what I'm committed to. That people are living in, and I say this from stage, I say, I'm committed to seeing that you live in alignment with what's most meaningful to you and not someone else's plan for your life. And that tends.
I had looked up our definition. I had looked that up actually. And interestingly, the primary definition that comes up for compassion is to provide one's sympathy. And there's this big focus as part of the definition of providing sympathy. But I think sympathy often gets mixed up with pity in a way.
Yeah. Well, then what I would do is look up sympathy and see where that came from, and look up empathy and look up pity and say, you know what, it really isn't compassion. It's really empathy. And then, and you'll see, it'll give you the distinction so that when you're talking to people, you can, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm committed to compassion, but here's what it means to me.
Right.
To have that clarity. So let's take a little, let's just check in. So you're noticing, like, we're working on heart virtues, but we just spent a whole bunch of time like role playing on relationships and private stuff. Why would I do that? Why is that so important?
Well, because it gives us the tools to be able to turn around and do those same sort of conversations with any of our clients.
Right. And in context, if you're going to do heart virtues work with people, you've got to feel clarity and confidence.
Yeah.
So if we get on the line and you're like, I had a fucked up week and I need to really deal, whatever, then I got to get you to that center so we can really talk about heart virtues. But I'm never going to plow over that and say, go out and use heart virtues when you're not feeling secure. And I'm modeling to a certain degree, right? So on a scale from 1 to 10, if this session is about 2/3 over, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much are you getting what you hope to get out of today?
What I'm getting out of what I hope to get.
Why do you think so much about the question?
I understood.
So on a scale from 1 to 10, how much is this session working for you based on your anticipation?
I was not anticipating this conversation, so.
I instinctively knew it was going to go here, so 9.
9, cool.
I was going to say 9 anyway.
I knew it was going to go here. I knew from where we were coming from in the past 2 weeks that this was just going to be worked out and clarified in our hearts.
Cool. And so on a scale from 1 to 10, it's at a 9, how well clarified it is?
Yes.
And what's the one that's missing?
The confidence and application of what I'm learning.
Awesome. Awesome. And that can be, now you know how to get that, just role play.
Yeah. We're going to practice that together.
Yes.
So Chris, on a scale from 1 to 10 for you, based on your anticipation of the day.
Yeah, for me, 9 was coming up for me too.
Okay, but it wasn't what you expected.
It was not. Well, I don't know I wasn't walking in with expectations.
Okay, cool. So that's awesome. If you were walking in with anticipations based on your goal for our sessions, How is this working on a scale from 1 to 10?
Still a 9 because of what it's doing for me is being able to watch you and learn and be able to be part of that and practice things. And that's what I anticipated these sessions to be all about.
Cool. So what's the one that's missing?
Yeah, I think that similar to Daphne, but I think from a slightly different context, it's just being the confidence to then turn around and take what we just practiced to actually apply it with other people than the 3 of us.
Awesome. So in that case, Chris, go ahead and practice with me.
Okay. Around any particular conversation or this one in particular?
Whatever you want to practice. I'm real good at, I can chameleon real easily.
Come on, choose a tough one, pound it out. Do it.
Okay.
Which tool do you want the most practice with?
The reframing, being able to, so similarly, well, the conversation that you were pretending to be Daphne, I would want to pretend to be me or be me and do that part of that conversation.
Okay. So I'm going to pause and take a quick break. I'm going to hit the restroom. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Back.
Okay.
So
he took the same break, so you got to give him 2 minutes.
okay, cool. So how was this role playing for you? What did you learn?
I learned that in role playing, I catch myself thinking too much. I still have to just let it be more natural and my actual response without thinking, which I guess I do in regular life playing as well. I'm not a very reactive person. I often give thought to things before I say them. So I feel role playing, I have to be more in flow with it.
Yeah, and allow yourself to continue thinking. I wouldn't resist it, but just make sure that you identify what's the experience I want to have in this case.
Yes, exactly.
You don't have to do it first, but do it eventually, and then that really informs what am I going to say next.
Exactly, because often I'm thinking about how that made me feel, but not the experience I want to have. I'm receiving it, like I'm taking it in too much. I'm receiving it in a way that I take it personally, and that's a habit, and that's a process to unlearn.
Well, that's the compassion, connection, and harmony. You're trying to have compassion for them, connect with them, and harmonize with what they're saying and doing, right?
And their story, exactly. And yeah, I don't know anyone who takes well to being verbally kind of attacked. I don't know. But I don't take well to my personality and my virtues. They don't merge with that kind of behavior. So it's a big struggle for me to have those relationships in my life. And then it takes a lot of courage for me to cut them off, because the guilt from my compassion is I think guilt is a significant byproduct of why I do certain things.
Well, it's enormous. And the fact is that, like you said, I don't know anybody that enjoys being attacked. Well, the fact is there are masochists on the planet, and it's not like they're it's black and white. There's masochists and non-masochists. We all 7-8 billion people enjoy being punished when we feel guilty. Guilt always seeks punishment. And you mentioned that if you're feeling, I'm feeling guilty, whether it's because of religious stuff someone recently said that the Jews invented guilt and the Catholics perfected it. And I grew up Greek Orthodox, which is basically Catholic, and so the guilt that people used to keep me in line was amazing, astonishing.
Well, just so Chris is back. So for your conversation with him, I can assist in your chameleon technique in that guilt, manipulation, and guilt through verbal are the primary source that he's received for a long time. And
cool.
That's been those are the layers he's learning to shed, is how much it's impacted him, and how sometimes it's so subtle but still so present.
Oh yeah. Oh, people use it brilliantly.
Yes. Yes, it's like they've mastered that. Why master that? There's so many beautiful things to master.
Well, to get what you want. That's basically it. If I can make you feel guilty, I get a lot of things. I get power, I get control, I get money, I get, there's all kinds of things that you get from being able to use guilt effectively.
Yeah.
So, so it's really good to deal with, that guilt. And the best way is self-forgiveness. So if you're feeling guilty about something, and then you can forgive yourself for whatever that is, you'll no longer feel the guilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that takes a little work, but it really is about the way to have that self-forgiveness. It's like if I did something, let's say I did something that hurt your feelings, Daphne, and or you're holding a grudge or whatever, right? And then you decide you're going to forgive me, and you call me up and you say, Greg, I decided I don't want to live, this grudge I'm holding is like drinking poison and expecting you to die. So I'm sick of that, so I'm going to forgive you, right? That's kind of cool. And then my response is, let's say I have one of two responses. And one is, well, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I never did that anyway. And the other one is, wow, I can really see that I hurt your feelings and I didn't mean to do that. And then the third is, you actually see me change and see me be a different person with everyone because I really processed how guilty I made you feel. Which of those is going to make it easier for you to forgive? If you're holding a grudge against me, step one is I deny that what I did created your guilt. Step two is I admit it. And step three is I actually change.
Step three.
Yeah. So here's what you know about you, is that when you're feeling guilty and you actually see you change your behavior so that you can stand for your heart virtues and not tolerate people punishing you and not have little Daphne walk out of the room feeling like, why the hell did I let that happen to me? And, big Daphne's got to deal with all the consequences of toughing it out and being compassionate and unhealthily, connected and all. That you're going to let you off the hook really fast and your guilt's going to disappear when you see that your actions change.
Okay.
So that's just practice. The cool thing is that's just practice. You want to get better at skiing, you go out and ski. And you see, wow, my actions changed. Now I'm not afraid of the mountain. Now I can go down the Black Diamonds and it's not a problem because I know I did this turn 15 times. Mm-hmm. And that's the brilliance and beauty of role-playing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if you guys are going to practice role-playing with each other, I'll share a little secret with you, and this is with your clients as well. And Chris, if you remember Authn Talk, you'll remember that we do this a lot. So if you're going to role-play with Chris, and he's going to be whoever this person is, Sally or whatever. If he says, I'm Sally, what do you want to say to me? There's something magical that happens there. So when we're role-playing, we're actually subconsciously, we're dealing with our insecurities in the face of a real situation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
yes.
By virtue of the fact your subconscious mind is subconscious, it is not conscious. Your conscious mind, if I said to you right now, and both of you, I want you to feel this, okay? I'm your dad. What do you want to say to me? Now, did either of you experience any kind of a little emotional charge right there for a second, or feel like a little warmth or a little, like, oh my gosh, what would I say? And you really just started going into your head about what you would say to your dad? Did either of you do that?
I did not go into the mental what I would say.
Okay. Did you, Daphne?
Of what I would say? No, I just felt a statement of love. Yeah.
Cool. So when I said, I'm your dad, what do you want to say to me? You felt almost like his presence a little.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you, Chris?
I did feel it.
Right. Yeah. So here's what's really cool. When you say to someone, if I said, I'm your mom, what do you want to say to me? How often do people say that to you during the course of your life?
That's never been said to me.
Never. Nobody's ever role-playing. Now here's the beauty of role-playing. When I say to you, I'm your dad, what do you want to say to me? I am accessing your subconscious mind. Because if you're going to role-play with me, you're going to go there pretending I'm your dad, right? Mm-hmm. Now we're not dealing with your conscious issues because consciously you know I'm not your dad. Now we're dealing with the real magic shit that holds you back in life and causes you to have all this resistance. You're dealing with the subconscious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The magic shit.
Yeah.
I like that.
It really is amazing because it's a dark place, right? The subconscious mind is there to protect you. It has all your habits, moods, and desires. It has all these programmed stuff and everything. And then consciously, you know, I want to go out and do this. And this is the brilliance and beauty of role playing, is just to, you know, if you think about what happens in the Millionaire Mind Intensive, what happens to all the workshops, sit, you know, write, share, group share. What is that about? That's all dealing with your subconscious stuff, getting it out, having a different experience with people, talking about it, and instead of being shamed, you have somebody say, wow, that was really great, you know, high five, you know, you did it, you spoke about something that was hard. And then you group share is where you literally grab a microphone and you're sharing in front of everybody. And if you share with 100 people something that you believe is true for you, it has 100 times the impact, because you're not a you, you're an us. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So when we share with 100 of others of us, the effects are amplified in your subconscious mind. That's why for a time I really loved speaking to large audiences. And now someone said to me yesterday, they were at Tony Robbins, and they said, you know, Tony Robbins was incredible. It was like a week ago in LA. He said, Tony Robbins was incredible, but his other...
No?
Say again?
Could have been anything you did.
Oh, well, he did Life and Wealth Mastery in San Diego a few weeks ago, but then he was just in Fort Lauderdale for UPW.
Okay, so it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. He was, I guess he was doing, it was mostly about real estate?
Oh, I don't know.
Whatever.
Maybe.
They said
Wealth
it was...
Yeah.
Yeah. And he had Pitbull there and Magic Johnson. And because a bunch of the people from, you know, Bakersfield here went down to see him. And when they came back, one of them just yesterday, we have like a Toastmaster meeting. He said, you know, Tony Robbins was incredible, but, you know, you and Tamara have much better speaking presentation skills than almost all the other folks that spoke. And I was going, well, thank you. And they're like, you know, you should be in front of audiences of like that size, 6,000, 2,000. And I was thinking, do I want to do that? And I was like, you know, I really don't. It's just like making $800 instead of 400. The experience that I enjoy having more than anything is either one-on-one sessions or working with 6 to 12 people in recovery. And the beauty is I have an opportunity to do that. You know, get to do both of those. So if I'm doing that, I've noticed the rest of my day, like these relationships and these conversations you have to have, Daphne, when you're doing what you love doing for you and you get to have the experience you want in life, you're going to find that your resentment and your frustration with other people that are inviting you to do other things, they can't get your goat. Because you already love your life, because you don't have, I don't do this coaching, but maybe a couple times a week. I don't need to do it a little bit every day. I don't need to go speaking to large groups, you know, once a month it's not like a drug. I just have to have a recent memory of me doing what I love to do, and it feeds me all week. Mm-hmm. So a little review. So we were talking about, you know, you knew this was going to be about relationships, and it's been about a 9 out of 10, and got some really cool tools for acknowledging boundaries and speaking your heart virtue. Number one, whenever you're feeling disoriented, confused, just speak your heart virtue out loud, even if you're alone. Mm-hmm. It automatically short circuits, gets you centered and grounded. Then we talked about role playing, which is how you can practice. How do I put all the conversations around my heart virtue? And for those to be authentic, it's like you can use some of Greg's ideas, but you got to come up with what is it that your heart wants to say. And the only way you're going to find that out is through practice, through role playing. Cool. Mm-hmm. And then we talked about staying in your world. You know, people will invite you to come over to theirs, and you should feel guilty for this, and I need you to, you know, to talk to my downline or create, you know, be in my downline or whatever. You know, it's some version of that enrollment, right? And then talking a little bit about how that when you're loving your life, then it's easy. You'll have that confidence that you notice that I have confidence. And I don't, by the way, I mean, I don't have confidence all day. There's times, you know, like right now, Tim and I, you know, we have a few pretty amazing challenges right now. I don't like employees for a reason. And her dad has employees that are not really in the business for the right reason. And he's just very loyal and attached, and they're causing problems. And, you know, we're trying to say, well, we can't address it this way because, you know, some of them are like hinting at lawsuits, and then we can't address it that way. You know, I mean, it's like, and once that happens, I'm like, I'm ready to shut the business down and go. I don't need to have that experience for any reason. Especially when you sit down with a lawyer and the first thing they tell you is the truth doesn't matter.
Oh boy.
All about perception. And they all tell you that. I don't know if you've had the delightful experience of working with lawyers, but you know, here's the beauty. I always used to be afraid of lawyers, like up until I was about 35. And then I had to sue a guy for taking advantage of me financially. And I was in a divorce, and my ex-wife was extremely litigious. Tamara and I got involved in a business that, you know, we were, because we were part owners of the business, the owner of the business did something unethical, and then we were implicated. So we had to, you know, defend ourselves there. We've had Tamara's dad is right now involved in a pretty heavy lawsuit. We're evicting a squatter. You know, this is all going on in the background, right? Of this amazing coaching session that I get to do that gives me the confidence to deal with all that crap.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And it's like, you know, I mean, life is you guys got diapers to change, you got all that other stuff. But if you're taking a little time every week to do the things you love to do and not pretending that there's something more important every single day, you know, there's 24 hours in a day. One of them should belong to you. Like, all right, you got kids, I get it. You're married, I get it. You got to make money, you got bills to pay, I get it. One of them needs to belong to you. Not all 24 a day goes out the window to someone else just because of whatever the guilt and whatever. One of them, in good conscience, is yours to have fun with every day.
Mm-hmm. It's
right?
True. And that's really what we're standing for in our past challenges. That's exactly what we stood for.
Cool.
Yeah. You should have your conversation to practice with Greg so that I can then mirror what he's doing and practice more with you.
Shall we?
Sure.
Cool.
So, I don't even know how I would want to start the conversation.
So this conversation can always start with your heart virtue if you don't know where to start.
Okay.
And then it would go into something like, can I ask you a question? Where's your life on a scale from 1 to 10?
Okay. So I'm committed to teamwork and empowerment. And would you be open if I asked you a question?
Sure.
So where is your life on a scale of 1 to 10?
You mean with respect to teamwork and empowerment?
No, just in general, your life. How would you rate it, 1 to 10?
Yeah, and I would say about a 9.
That's amazing. What's the missing one?
You know, we're here in Bakersfield, and I love our home here. And I would say it would be just a nice long vacation with Tamara, which is coming up in December. We're going to have a week-long vacation that we're going to go down to Disney World and spend some time down there. So, you know, in a couple weeks, I'm pushing a 10, I think.
So what experiences are you looking to have post-vacation that you can maintain that 10?
Oh, well, good question. One of the things that's happening for me lately that I'm really enjoying is I get to have mini vacations all day. I used to have a lot of stress and anxiety worrying about things like money and you know, getting older, like how much time do I have left before health things start happening, and you know, have I fulfilled my purpose, you know, all those currencies that I talk about. And lately I've been living so well in the present. I've been letting go. I don't have any ambition really. I don't have any plans. I'm not like driving myself to accomplish something. I've been just, for some reason, life has me in a very comfortable position where I don't have to worry about income because that's taken care of with the property we own and the work we do. I don't have to worry about, you know, what I do with my time because I have a very fair and balanced demand that Like right now, there's nobody pulling at me, and it's in the middle of a work day, and I'm doing my coaching session, and um, so I've actually gotten honest with myself about whether all that ambition served me, that crazy testosterone driven like to do something. So to answer your question, it would be to continue loving what is, and letting go of whatever the future is supposed to, whatever expectations I have for the future.
Okay, and are there things that you do not want to experience?
Yeah, I don't want to continue doing some of the things that are causing problems with these employees. I want to really be proactive, and I was talking to Tamara about it. So what I don't want to do is just ignore that there's some disgruntled stuff going on. I want to sit down with them. I want to tell them that we noticed that there's disgruntled stuff, say what can we do to alleviate it, and have them sign a piece of paper that says if we do this, then I'm not going to be disgruntled anymore. I want to make sure that they all are no one else is sexually abused in the workplace, and they can sign a piece of paper that says I've never been sexually abused here, because people, when they leave, all of a sudden they make up shit that happened 6 months ago that never happened. And so I just want to really get it all in writing and really be proactive and caring about these people and letting them know that we're going to manage their experience so that whatever is going on, they feel really like they have a really great workplace and they have clarity about what they're there to do, which they don't.
Do you have any concerns?
My biggest concern is that as Tamara and I work together and we try to take on more administrative responsibilities, we sometimes hit walls with each other. We do great when administration's in place, and right now that's her dad. So my only concern is if her dad passes away or gets sick or whatever, Tamara and I are going to try and take over some of the administrative stuff, which I am going to, as quickly as possible, end. like we're not going to be doing the interior design thing together. I can guarantee you that. If she wants to do it, that's her business, but it's not going to be something I'm going to continue to do when he's gone. But right now with him there, he's the administration. Tamara and I have a dream. We get to, live under that umbrella, and it's fantastic. But that's my biggest concern, is how Tamara and I will negotiate the treacherous waters of his death.
I like your clarity and confidence around your situation. It's refreshing.
Cool. And what was the skill that you wanted to most learn in this conversation?
It was the practicing. So I wanted to practice managing the conversation and asking those questions, and it's great to do it when it's a fun and positive conversation.
Right.
Like with that, because of your current situation.
Right.
But if you were pretending to be somebody else who I'm having conflict with, that would be a different scenario.
And who would that be?
Currently my mom and the rest of my family a little bit, but primarily my mom.
And how does your mom come across with you? What is she doing that's aggravating you?
She holds a lot of expectations about what she would like her relationship with us and the kids would be, and what the relationship between us and the rest of my family would look like, primarily from a quantity of time and frequency of time. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating that it doesn't appear that they're hearing us, and they draw conclusions when we say no to things and whatnot, is what we're noticing. Which is why we requested some space and attempted to do that in a powerful way, but it did not be interpreted that way.
So let me be by the way, you did a great job with the questions, and let me now be your highly aggravated mom. So in your mind, what do you call her? Just mom?
What do I call my mom? Yeah, mom.
So I'm your mom. What do you really want to say to me?
I want to have a conversation to address some of the previous conversations that have been had that have caused this emotional turmoil amongst the family.
Well, my whole life, as soon as I had you as children, I knew that I was going to have lots of time as a grandmother spending time with my grandkids. And I'm really resenting that you're putting the block up, putting the wall up to that.
So, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your relationship with us and my kids?
About a 5. I don't get to see enough of either of you.
So what would be the missing 5?
Being able to come over once a day for at least a few minutes, but a couple hours, and take the pressure off you guys and spend some time with the grandkids and then be appreciated for that.
So what is it about, or what experiences are you looking to have specifically? Like what's the experience you're looking to have with us?
You mean that I don't get to have?
Well, just in general, if you were to paint the perfect experience for you, what would that experience be for you?
To be I always dreamed of being a great grandmother. I think I was a pretty good parent. And I just, you probably have heard that grandmothers, like being a grandparent is like the essence of, it's the most rewarding experience of life because, you get to visit with the kids and then you don't have to have the burden of all that other stuff. And I just want to spend time with my grandkids and have them love their grandma because I love all the visions and daydreams I have about being a great grandma and spending that time with my grandkids. And so the experience I don't get to have is me being an appreciated grandma and spoiling your kids.
And what do you not want to experience?
Well, I don't want to be told that, to be put off and to have all this spare time that I've worked so hard to have to spend with my grandkids, with my number one priority, and have nothing to do. Be bored when I'm yearning to spend time with kids that are, you guys are probably burdened by.
And what are your concerns?
Well, my biggest concern, is that I've got so much of my identity wrapped up in this, and you're going to say no to me and say, that you want some distance and space. I mean, that really hurt my feelings when you said you wanted some space. And, so it really hurts to have this dream I've had be, you guys are trashing my dream. And I'm your mother. You should at least honor me enough to consider my desires.
See, now I don't know where to go.
And when you don't know where to go, what do you say?
Committed to.
I'm committed to teamwork and empowerment.
Yeah, me too. And I'm not feeling very empowered.
I am committed to teamwork and empowerment.
I know that about you, and I'm committed to spiritual integrity. And are you feeling like I'm not being a good team player? Are you feeling that I'm disempowering you?
The experiences I am having around our relationship is not allowing me to experience teamwork and empowerment.
Well, what would teamwork look like to you if we had teamwork together and I was able to be the grandma I want to be?
It would come with it would come without expectations of how often and how long we actually get to spend time together, but focus more on the quality and quality of time and the quality of relationship that is experienced by everyone during those times.
Are you saying that I'm a bad influence on your kids?
No.
I don't know what to say. I still think you should, allocate more time for me to spend with the kids. I have way more experience than you in raising kids. And so I know you can trust me. You know you can trust me. If I spend time with them, do you imagine I'm going to have a negative influence on them?
That is not what I'm saying.
So what's the problem with me spending more time with them and you?
The challenge for us is the amount of time we have available. We are working on a lot of different projects that we are extremely passionate about and having a lot of fun doing. And one of them is spending quality time, just the unit of 5 of us dedicated to our children, so that we can spend that time with them and see their growth outside of the other jobs and things we're doing.
I see. So, well, you know, your dad and I have done pretty well. What if we support you a little more financially so you have more time?
At this particular moment in time, we have created a policy and a boundary of doing business and interacting financially with close family members.
Right. Now, so Chris, you can feel what's happening is we've gotten away from experience. So the answer to that question would be, that's not the experience I want to have.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
It's also something they can't offer right now.
I know. And you're getting into explanations, and here's the problem. The more you give me that stuff, the more I get to argue with it.
Right.
But I can't argue with, you know, and start using words like my heart feels this and my yearning is for this. And, you know, remember when you guys were like 25 and you had a burning desire to when you were raising us and you wanted to provide for us and you wanted to be good providers and you want to make sure that, you know, that and you didn't have all that much time because you were getting things done and, you know, dad was working a lot. And well, that's the space we're in. And that's what I'm feeling so good about is learning to be that really great provider. I feel like I'm a good husband and I'm a pretty good dad, but I want to be a great provider for my family. I just yearn for this. My heart is pounding to really make a difference in the world so my kids can see how they can make a difference in the world. That's something I want to give them. You see where I'm coming from? You're in your head with reasons.
Yeah.
You need to get into the words like experiences and my heart and what gives me goosebumps is and the vision that makes me feel so great. And I'm hitting you with some hard stuff because I'm talking about experiences, which your mom probably isn't doing, right? I'm saying I want to be a grandma. I want to have this experience and I want to have it with your kids. And that will derail reasons. Experiences will always derail reasons. And I'll give you proof. If you had a job and the experience sucked, but you're making a lot of money and you have free time, how long would you keep the job?
Personally, not long. Yeah,
nobody will. They'll find a way to either get fired or quit, or they'll find something else that even though they make less money and have less time, they're going to be like, I'd rather go do this. So everything we do is for the experience. Everything that you do is for the experience. If you're not having that word infiltrate all your conversation and it's the core of your conversations, you're going to be lost in reasons. Mm-hmm. And if you're in reasons, then you have no grounding. Mm-hmm. And if you have no grounding, then you're going to be like, what do I need to say now? That's why I'm like, well, say your heart virtue. But now your homework is to actually be really clear about, you know, when you're going to go, I don't care if you're going to go buy groceries. What does teamwork and empowerment look like driving to the grocery store? When you walk through the door, picking out the tomatoes, getting back in the car and bringing the stuff back in the house. What does teamwork and empowerment look like during that course? And you got to revolve in your head so that when someone comes along and says, hey man, how you doing? Let's go have a beer. You can say, you know what? I'm committed to teamwork and empowerment. And I'm right now a part of my team. And my wife's at home with my kids. And I'm so looking forward to doing my role with them. And so thank you for the invitation. And thank you for helping me get clarity about I got to get these groceries home right away. You know what I mean? It's like your heart virtue is going to inform your experience in every situation. And it's just like you said, you don't have the words yet, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is where the courage comes in. You know Brené Brown about vulnerability, right? I'm sure you've seen it a dozen times. Brené Brown, her video.
I know of her. I haven't seen a lot of her work.
Watch her TED Talk on vulnerability.
Yeah, I've seen that one once, but I haven't. I'll watch it again.
Yeah, watch again because what I'm saying, what you're up against is your own courage and your vulnerability about what experience is meaningful to you that you're not willing to compromise. And I will fuck with you the more you give. I got to stop using words like that because you got kids on the line and all. But I will mess with you like so much if you're coming at me with reasons, because I can argue reasons. But when you say, if I said to you, you know, Chris, in my heart, I'm just feeling like this time constraint, and so we got to wrap up this session in the next 5 minutes. What's your response to that?
Okay, what do we need to finish up with?
Right. And then, but if I said to you, oh, you know, okay, so we covered this and we covered this, and then what are the other things that you want to cover before we get off the line?
Well, that
Come
up with a whole slew of things.
You're going to give me the stuff that makes me more frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, Greg, here are the 5 things I want to accomplish. Meanwhile, in the back of my head, I'm going, I got to get the hell off the line because I got someplace to go, which I don't, by the way. But
because that would have been a good segue to end.
It would have been.
So coming from experience, so that would then shorten these very unpleasantly long conversations about reasons, right? Because I mean, once you clarify your experience, in how many ways do I need to re-clarify it? I feel like I did make my experience very clear.
It's so efficient. And here's what happens. If you tell somebody if I said to you, you know, wow, you know, I'm feeling a lot of pressure and I need to get off the line and I've only, you know, so if we can wrap this up in 5 minutes, if I said that to you and you were to say, okay, but, you know, I want to talk about these 5 things, and you just push it off the plate, then I would say to you, wow, I just shared with you something that's really important to me, and I feel like you just didn't even hear me, that I need to really wrap this up. And it makes me really wonder whether we have a really good working relationship. So my request of you is that regardless of what happens here, that you say to me in 5 minutes, let's wrap up our call right now. Would you be willing to do that? And this is how I would handle it.
Right.
Which is, I go back to my experience that I just told you, and you just pushed it away. I'm like, I would ask, did you hear me say that I'm feeling a lot of pressure in my chest? Because it didn't feel like you heard me. You know, and if you told me you had a lot of pressure in your chest, I would want our relationship to be such that I would really have compassion for that. I would empower you to do the things that you really want to do right now. That's the kind of relationship I want to have with you. But it makes me feel, you know, icky when you say, you know, here's what I need to get done right after I told you I'm feeling really pressed. You know, listen to the words I'm using, Chris. Icky. You know, in my chest, putting your hand here is like, this is what it means to be vulnerable. Instead of, hey, you know what? I'm going to manage this with brilliant conversational rhetoric using Greg's tools so that I don't ever have to tell people what I really think and feel. Make sense?
Yes,
So,
it does.
And as a guy, that's just what we do.
Yeah, and I think what my brain is having the most challenge with is that the experiences that I think my mom wants to have are totally reasonable and logical. It's just how often that she expects it to happen, and it's the expectation side of things and the pressure that she's applying on us that is the experience we don't want to have.
Yeah, well, she has an unacknowledged dream. And it's going to be, if you can get her to share her dream that is feeling shorted, it's probably, if my experience with people is worth anything, it has to do with her having an experience of grandma and not getting enough of that, and investing most of her life in a program that she didn't even check with you about. She got a plan that she never checked with you about. She just assumed, like we, you know, meet somebody and fall in love with them. We just assume that they're going to love us back and that they're going to want to spend all their time with us. And then they say, hey, you know what? I think we need to take a break. And, you know, I'm still dating, by the way. And we're like, what? You know, that wasn't part of my plan. But what you got to do is get her to share what is the plan that you have that when I say, I don't have time for you this week, is so hurtful. Let's get it out. I'll give you an example of one of the best ways I did this. Like, I'm in a men's group. We got a men's group that meets every Tuesday. And for about an hour and a half. And there's about 6 guys regularly that come. And I put the group together. And Tamara's going, why do you need men's group? So here was my response to her. Tamara, I really want to be an incredible friend to you. And you've said to me that sometimes you don't feel like I'm really like the kind of friend that has your back. And so I want to really focus on how am I landing with people, because I've had that feedback a lot in my life, that people don't feel like, I was a monk and I left my family and they were like, they felt abandoned. And then I pretty much do what I want to do. And you even say that to me, you pretty much do what you want to do. And so there's no sense in arguing with you. And so, but I really want to learn to be a better friend. And so I really hear you, that this is something that you want with me. And I really want to invest in that experience by having this men's group. Now, her original perception was, you're doing this men's group because there's something that's not as fulfilling enough in our relationship, so you want to go do that. And I just reframed it, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you can figure out, and here's what that looks like. With your mom, hey mom, I've always I want to have the most beautiful relationship with you. And I want that relationship to be something where we both feel teamwork and empowerment, because that's my heart virtue, and where you get to feel your heart virtues and Daphne gets to feel hers, like all the time. I always want you to feel respected by me, whatever that is. It's got to be authentic for you, but you got to get to that vision first and set the context that, mom, this is the relationship I want to have with you. And I'm sensing that, and here's what I say to Tamara that really communicates beautifully. I'm sensing a disturbance in the force. Right? You've seen Star Wars. And he says, I'm sensing a disturbance in the force. So I just say to Tamara, I'm sensing a disturbance in the force, which means there's tension between us. And I'm really committed to this incredibly beautiful experience. And so I want to find a way where my goals and ambitions and, my heart virtue is fulfilled. And we're on the same page, so that whatever you think I should be doing with my life incorporates my goals and ambitions in a way that I don't feel burdened, you don't feel shorted, and we both get to have this really beautiful experience. Mom, what's the experience you want to have with Daphne and I and your grandkids? What's your dream? What's your vision? And what is that? And get her to see. Because if they're accusing you of selfishness, if I'm accusing somebody of selfishness, I'm being selfish. If I'm accusing someone of being aggressive, then I'm feeling guilty about my own aggression. If I'm accusing someone of abandoning me, then I'm feeling guilty about my own relationship, other relationships that are being abandoned. Because we're an us, right? Now, I don't know how you feel about this, but I know that God has a plan for my life that's better than anything I can imagine. And that includes everybody I know and love. So I know that they can't imagine as beautiful as this can be. Mm-hmm. But I also know that if I'm going to find out what that plan is, that's an us plan. So I got to say, and I got to ask you, Chris, do you believe that there's a plan for your life that could be more rewarding for you than what you're imagining? And,
yes.
And if so, can you be courageous enough to imagine that maybe your mother's inviting you to see a piece of it? And that's going to take an enormous amount of courage and vulnerability, because you just want to protect your plan from your mother. But that's doing a non-unity thing, non-us thing. And what I'm learning from Tamara is that, it's not like there's a time when there's not an us, right? I mean, if I go to a bar and start flirting with somebody and she's not around, that's not okay. There's always an us. Always an us that needs to be honored and respected.
And I think that, so part of that is that I agree in the sense that there is always an us, particularly in a marriage. Like we are committed to each other. And I do want there always to be an us with my family, but their expectation of that commitment, of that level of us, is not where I'm at.
Yes, but if they can see God's plan for you has no conflict in God's plan for them. God doesn't have a plan for me that is going to be detrimental to my wife. God's plan for me and my wife is something that's going to lead beautifully to our self-actualization. If I can see that plan and she can see that plan, there won't be any conflict. And I'd rather see that plan than my plan.
Right.
And that's only if you believe that God has a plan for your life that's greater than anything you can imagine. If you believe that, then you must believe that God has a plan for your mother's life that's greater than anything she can imagine. And that this tension between you is a request for you to both figure out what that higher plan is.
To find the alignment.
Yeah. To figure, and if there isn't one, then she will tearfully realize through the process of communication that she's been unreasonable. But if the context is, Mom, you're burdening me, get the hell away, instead of, Mom, I can see that something's meaningful to you. I have things that are meaningful to me, and I want to sit down and talk to you because I believe there's something going on here that's available, a beautiful opportunity for both of us. You never know. Maybe she's going to adjust, maybe you're going to adjust, but if you go into the conversation with that commitment, and it may take months, it may take years, but every time you go in, with curiosity and courage, and the curiosity will take care of the fact that you're sure that she's encroaching on your plan in life with your kids and Daphne. You see what I mean? That curiosity allows you to loosen up on that knowing, which, if you remember the cycle of chaos, listening leads to knowing leads to awakening, and awakening leads to chaos because now you're in conclusions and expectations and you're going to get broken out of your knowing all the time.
Right.
So, there's got to be a way. And if you can't, that's fine, but be honest with that. If you just need to say to your mom, you know what, Mom, I am so powerfully reacting to our conversations that I need a month to take a break, a full month to get clarity about why am I so screwed up when you say you want to come over this much. So I just need that because I want to have it's the same foundation. I want to have a beautiful relationship with you where when you call up, I don't feel like I'm grinding my teeth. I don't ever want to have that relationship with you in the future. So I need to get inside my heart and figure out where have I been so.
And I think honestly for me, and I've come to realize it only relatively recently, is that as much as they think that them coming in or popping in and taking the kids off our hands and whatnot, and the words that they're using, it sort of makes it feel like that the kids are a burden to us, and B, that's helpful for us. And they're making that assumption. And what I've come to realize is that it's almost the opposite. It's that I'm busting my butt so that and I work at home and I've set up my life this way so that I can enjoy those things and do those things, and that myself can enjoy them and do them with my kids. And if they're doing them with my kids, then I don't get to.
Yes. And thank you. That's clear.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't say that to her?
Are you asking me if I can or can't, or are you telling me I can't?
that 2 minutes that you just handed us is recorded, and I would if I look it up on the recording that I'm going to send you and hear yourself say it and say, why can't I just say that to my mom?
Yeah.
And role play with Daphne so that you can get through why you can't say that. And it's probably because you feel some part of it's vulnerable to her negotiations or attacks or whatever that feels like. The other thing that comes to me a little bit is when you say, if she says things to you like, hey, let's take the kids off your hands, So, hey, Mom, let me ask you a question. When people came to you when I was 2 years old and they said, let me take your kids off your hands, did you feel that we were a burden? Is that how it felt to you? Because that's the reference you're making now. Were we a burden to you? And you welcomed people taking us off your hands? What would you say?
So the only thing I like the thought process. I don't like the feeling. I don't enjoy trying to force her to go into that feeling side of things, because that's what they've done to us, in the sense that they've turned around and said, what would you feel like in 20 years if your daughter or son and had a grandchild and were asking for this space and doing this, and how would you feel? And
if they abandoned you and blah, blah,
like,
blah, blah, blah,
right?
blah.
So that sort of guilting, I'm not willing to go there.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you. And I wouldn't say it's guilting. I would literally be curious. She used the words, take the kids off your hands. And I would want to know, did you feel like you wanted us to be taken off your hands? And
Right.
see if that's not true. And if she says, well, no, then if she says yes, then say, wow, let's talk about that. And have the courage to face the fact that she didn't want to be a mother, she wanted to be a grandmother. That may be the case. Or if she says, well, no, of course not, we didn't want people off your hands. Oh, then you know how I feel. I don't ever want anybody to take my kids off my hands, because I love these kids. I love every minute. I'm working at home so I can spend every minute with them.
Right.
So it's not said, see, again, it's really about practicing the role playing so that you can clean up all the conclusions and expectations and clean up the hard feelings, right? So the same thing I was saying to you, Daphne, is there's resentment there. And there's, consequently, when there's hurt and resentment, then you gotta take a little time out and back out. Now, the timeout exercise is beautiful for the scenario, because if they start guilting you with how would you feel, before they even get done with how would you, say timeout, Mom, timeout. I'm not sure what you're trying to communicate to me, but I can't even hear what you're about to say because I'm feeling manipulated by guilt. So please try to find another way to say that where it doesn't put guilt on me, because I feel really good about the decisions I'm making with my family. And if she comes back at you with another guilting thing, whoa, timeout, Mom. This feels like another round of guilting to me, and I'm not enjoying being put in a position where I'm feeling guilty. So I'm not going to blame you for that. I need to go resolve this guilt I'm feeling. So I'm going to take a break. I'll call you tomorrow afternoon. Because the fact is, this is just the truth. If you said, Mom, are you trying to make me, you can say those words to her. Are you trying to make me feel guilty? And she says, no. I say, wow, then I'm feeling guilty on my own. And I'm projecting onto you that you're trying to make me feel guilty. And Mom, it's in the way of us communicating. So let me take a break right now. I'm going to need at least a day to see if I can work through all this guilt I'm feeling. And we'll talk tomorrow. And I'm not saying that as a tool for putting your mother off for a day. I'm saying that if you're experiencing a feeling of guilt, authentically feeling guilt, whether or not it's her brilliant exercise that's making you feel guilty, you're feeling guilt, and you can't have a decent conversation with all that guilt going on. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
If Tamara comes up to me and says, you're supposed to be doing this and you're supposed to be doing that, and I would say, wow, I know that, I'm committed to us having a beautiful relationship, and I always want to feel like that everything I do is out of generosity. I'm so grateful to be here. But what you just said to me, I'm feeling guilty. So I really want to make sure that when I do things, it's not out of a sense of guilt. And I'm feeling all this generosity for being here, but for some reason, what you just said and the way you said it, I'm feeling guilt. So before I commit to do that, give me a couple hours. I want to resolve this guilt I'm feeling. I mean, you address it. And if she's angry, say, wow, I'm really feeling like threatened. You know, it's like you don't think you're raising your voice, and I'm feeling yelled at. What the hell's wrong with me that I'm feeling yelled at when you just talk with a little passion in your voice? I need to go figure out what to do with this. Because right now I'm feeling so threatened by you just raising your voice a little bit. And I don't want to blame you for that. That's my responsibility. But I can't, for some reason, I'm out of sorts right now. I can't continue this conversation because I'm so distracted by my feeling.
Mm.
This is vulnerability if it's authentic.
Mm-hmm.
But it can't be that you're using these excuses to get off the phone with her. You actually have to say what you're feeling. And don't forget to leave out the experience you're committed to, because the reason those feelings are bad is because they're opposite of the experience. They're in
they're not benefiting the experience.
Right. Paint the vision. Mom, the experience I want to have with you that I always dreamed of was that, you know, we have so much teamwork and empowerment in this family, and finding out that that was my virtue is so cool. And you've been such an incredible team player, you know, and I feel so empowered by you, and I can run my own business from my home, and I get to spend time with my kids, and, you know, and I'm conflicted. And I want to have our conversations be such feel-good feelings. But as I'm trying to live my life the way I see fit, I'm feeling guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and say, if it's not guilt, what is it? There's a, you know, you can look up list of feelings on Google, you know, there's 100 of them. And it's like, wow, am I feeling guilty, or am I feeling ashamed, or am I feeling responsible for my mother? Am I feeling but I'm not being heroic and noble with her? You know, whatever the feeling is. And then you get it down to one word. I'm feeling guilt. I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling sadness. I'm feeling, you know, and then say that. Wow, I'm really sad. I'm really sad that our conversations are a burden. I don't ever want to have that with you. And then paint the experience I want to have with you, Mom, is, you know, and if it's selfish, then say it is. Yeah, is that, you know, when we call you, you're available. And when we don't, you give us space to run our lives and create the business we want. And then she'll say whatever, and then you get to negotiate. You're right, I'm being selfish. I want you to be available when I want. So if she says you're being selfish, then say, yeah, you're probably right. But here's the experience I want to have with you. Or if she says you're selfish and you're feeling blame, say, wow, I'm feeling blame. Or if she says you're selfish and you feel it's a projection, you say, Mom, are you feeling that making these requests of spending so much time with us, is it making you feel selfish at all? You know, that's where you got to rely on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you some ideas of what I'm imagining I would feel if this was happening to me. But you got to get honest with what are you actually feeling? Because if you use my words,
yeah,
your feelings are unresolved.
They'll read through it and just know they're just words, not
you'll
lose its power.
You'll hang up the phone with no relief.
Yeah.
So you got to, you know, it's like this is where the vulnerability comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel honestly that she can't handle you saying this is the experience I want to have with you, and I'm feeling this burden, and that she's just going to bulldoze through all that to get what she wants, if that's how you're feeling, then, Mom, I just told you the experience I wanted to have. So let's stop and rewind for a second. What experience do you want to have with me? And if she still bulldozes through you, that's great. You couldn't change the topic, so now you say, time out. I need a couple hours. This is not going well for me. I'm trying to share with you in a way that we negotiate being in each other's lives in a way that makes us happy. And I need to take an hour because my efforts to do that are failing.
I'm going to go get her. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
You continue.
Make sense?
Yes, very much so.
You know, and this is where you guys can help each other, you know, and listen to this, because when you do listen to it, it'll have another, just like you did the other, you know, recording. You listen to it a couple times and you're going to go, oh, wow, look at your face when when we're seeing the session, like, what's going on with me? Make sense?
Yeah. Very. Yeah. It does.
And Chris, you have great skills of having good manners and really taking care of people. I've known you in many environments. I've known you in the back of a Peaks room, and I've known you in the audience as a student, and I've known you running seminars that you and I are part of, and now I know you in coaching. And you are really, really good at putting yourself second, so that whatever needs to get done gets done, and that people are honored and respected. And, if you're at home starting your own business, that is going to take you in 5 directions other than having a successful business. So this is a beautiful opportunity for you to get, clear. Here's my vision. Here's the experience I want to have. Write it down on paper. And then from now on, it's just, whatever the words are. Every morning I'm first, Daphne's second, the business is third, and these things are fourth, fifth, and sixth. And, whatever that is, like, you can't be, if you're going to be second, you got to go work for somebody else. If you love that you come second, if you have that ability to sacrifice, you got to go get a job. And that's beautiful to have in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that guy. That make sense?
Yes.
I'm not that guy. I am not an entrepreneur. I'm a solopreneur.
There you go. Yeah, everyone. Yeah. You say hi?
Hi. Daddy.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And Nala hiding. She doesn't want to. There you go.
Hi there. She's shy.
You don't remember him, eh? You met him when you were like 9 months.
You were a baby.
Yeah, little thing. She looks like both of you, huh?
Hmm?
She looks like both of you.
Yes.
And he looks a little bit more like you, Daphne?
This guy, I don't know. I find he resembles Chris a bit, but
A little bit more? I haven't seen baby pictures, so.
yeah, that's true.
Hard to know.
Cool. So I'm feeling a sense of closure.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. No, but both because we have to go take care of the kids, and because I feel like our conversation is sort of wrapped up in it. Yeah.
Cool. So we'll have some email, and we'll figure out when the next one's going to be. And
Yes.
in the meantime, so last week it was like, we start sort of with the end in mind, which is you guys are doing Heart Virtue sessions, and here's what the process looks like, and here's the stuff to memorize. And then because this isn't about Heart Virtues, this is about evolution. And you're, and you guys have invested in, you're having that whole future. The thing to do now is to really get clear about what's the experience you want to have, communicating it, asking people about the experience they want to have, communicating it, getting clear about what you're willing to sacrifice and not sacrifice, just flush that out, role play, do whatever you got to do so that you guys are so absolutely clear about what is negotiable and what is not.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments?
So our homework for next time is we're gonna re-watch the video a couple of times.
Yep.
Take notes again.
Yep.
And then go more into detail of our definitions and
Of our virtues, we have
etymology of our virtues, as well as some others on the list. Like that.
Right.
That's the process, right? To start
Right.
Yeah.
So look up your virtues. So in the first session, we talked a little bit about the logistics. Stuff came up. And so now the essence of Heart Virtues is goosebumps and rage.
Yes.
So you guys are going to be masters at helping people design a life that gets them away from their rage and toward their goosebumps.
Yes.
That's what Heart Virtue is about. In the process, you guys had some rage come up.
Yes.
Because what we teach, we most need to learn. So now for you to model, people can have a goosebumps life. You've got to get clarity about what is a goosebumps vision.
What's it for us? Yeah.
Yeah. And why is your mom in the way of that? And what is the experience that you want to have? And what does the vision look like? And so you can so articulate it that anybody that's not fulfilling that vision is clear that it's a spiritual thing, and and anything else they're about to say is in the way of it, including watching the kids. When you are absolutely clear about what is the vision that your virtues are feeding, like I got my vision. I'm committed to seeing that 6 billion people have clarity and confidence about who they are and where they stand because they know their heart virtue and they're living in alignment with their goosebumps. So people hear that and they're like, well, there's no sense in inviting him to, go do this because, right? So when you have that vision with perfect clarity, your mother won't even discourage you. She won't dissuade. She won't be a distraction. You're going to be like, you'll be like, hi mom, hey, listen, I don't have time for this. Click, like I got my vision. And she can send a dirty thing, but it's like if your vision is so clear, you'll know where she fits in and how you can be and it won't bother you.
Right.
Work on our vision.
Cool.
Okay.
So this last 5 minutes is a good thing to start with.
Yeah.
When you start listening, because that's what the whole session has been about, is the fact that we're learning now to manage experiences and to manage experiences we want to have and draw that out of them. Education, draw it out. So that's why it's 12 sessions. You could learn the heart virtues technique in 2 sessions, but there's a context.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you very much. That was a great call.
Thank you, Greg. Awesome.
Okay, ciao.
Bye.
Bye.